Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to a melding of all the things and wherever our whims take us. Today it's gonna be a combination. We're gonna be looking at the sensational Spider-Man self-improvement #1, and this is a special outing. It takes us directly back to our video about how Spider-Man got his black costume, the behind the scenes stuff, not the issue itself. So if you missed that, you know the drill. Card link. Please do check it out, as we won't be going over everything in this video. We're going to do some cliff notes, but you won't get the full depth and all the quotes. Good quotes. If you're ready to go back down the rabbit hole, hit that like button. So Spider-Man's famous black costume, the one that would eventually become Venom, was actually submitted as a fan idea. This was in response to Marvel asking for a solicitation / running a contest / depending upon whether you're cynical or not, begging for ideas. This happened back in the 80s. However, the first concept was very different from what actually ended up being printed in the comic. Aside from both costumes being black, having built-in web shooters, and upping some of Spidey's abilities, very little remained the same. Not even the color scheme is exactly the same. Randy Schueller, the fan who submitted the idea, was paid $220 by Marvel at the time, and offered the chance to write the script. However, after a couple of back and forths, it fell apart, and thusly Marvel ended up doing their own thing. But now, for the first time, Randy Schueller's original idea has been written in comic book format. Sorta, kinda. They still modified it a lot. But the coolest part of the issue that makes it worth picking up is that at the end you get to see Randy's original pitch and also the notes sent back to him by Tom DeFalco, and whoa, man, you gotta stay at the end because some of these notes I would have cried. I need to know your opinion about whether they're mean or whether I'm just really sensitive. So are you ready to take a peek through the looking glass and see a world where we could have gotten Spider-Man into his black costume a different way? Well, get ready. This is Burn Job by Peter David, all-around licensed property, be it comics or tie-in novel connoisseur. Check out his Star Trek tie-in novels if you're into that kind of thing, which I 100% am. They are really good. He's done some great Q stuff. I am such a nerd. So he's adapted his story off of Randy Schueller's original pitch. The story opens, as many Spidey tales do, with him berating himself. He's dived in front of a woman to stop her from being burned, and he's just pondering all the other ways he could have dealt with the situation without being burned. He even calls himself a dummy, so in short, he's entirely in character. The woman he's rescuing actually has to get a fire hose to put him out. It's not a good day to be Spidey. But the villain is still on the scene, and it turns out it's Firebrand, and this led me down a rabbit hole. So bear with me. There have been multiple Firebrands across Marvel and DC. In Marvel's canon, there have been 5 different Firebrands. The Firebrand costume you'll see in this comic initially belonged to the first Firebrand. It's bright, extra, has a fight the power fist at the center because the first Firebrand was a radical activist before he became a supervillain after things, well, they went too far. But this is the second Firebrand, Russ Broxtall, and I needed to know, why did they have the same costume? I missed this, so I had to go full nerd, and you never go full nerd. I found out that he was an eco-terrorist, so I guess that's why he felt he could keep the fist, fighting the ecological power. None of that actually matters. I just felt like sharing. The more you know. You know, for when you really need to know about Marvel's first 2 Firebrands. It'll happen. Just keep waiting. Trust me. Anyways, Spidey is down for the count and badly burned. Thankfully, Johnny Storm shows up so he can fight fire with fire, and also because he's Spidey's best friend, and I love when people remember this. Maya, yeah, he's okay, but he's no Spidey. Spider-Man and the Human Torch also had the pettiest start to their friendship, and it is glorious, and it still makes more sense why they're friends than Hal and Ollie. No, I'm never gonna let it go. That 70s team-up book ruined me for life. Thankfully, Firebrand leaves rather than get caught in a stalemate, and Johnny takes Spidey back to the Baxter building to heal. There we learn that Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic himself, a character that I love to hate, has taken it upon himself to make Spidey a new costume. Something so scandalous, my screen just died. So he's made him one out of unstable molecules. Now, Reed Richards is known in the Marvel Universe for his uniform computer. This is how the Fantastic Four can have costumes that match all of their abilities and never break, rip, anything whenever they're fighting. It's how they look fly. So he's made Spidey the black costume, and it has Randy's original pitched color scheme, black and red. For maximum edge, the suit is flame-proof, has web shooters built in that respond to Peter's thoughts and the intensity of the situation. And Reed is very salty that Peter calls the suit awesome, because he's a snob. He also puts him down for sewing his original costume. Jerk read is best read. There's a really cute moment where Peter calls himself all of his adjectives: amazing, sensational, spectacular. Not superior though, not yet. Thrilled to have a new costume, Peter sets out, but not before he learns that the woman he saved was actually Firebrand's ex, and they have a daughter together. So of course, Peter's been around the block once or twice, he knows exactly what's gonna happen next and where he needs to go. Peter has some zany mishaps as he tries to figure out his new costume, but ultimately makes it to Firebrand's ex's place unscathed. However, when he gets there and he's trying to sneak in through the daughter's bedroom, she's terrified of him because, as she says, only villains wear black. But to that I counter, not in New York, not Spidey's villains. I guess her mother keeps her away from the Bugle and television and the dangerous New York City streets of the Marvel Universe. Still, it makes sense. She is a young child and he does look pretty menacing in this costume. Red and black are traditionally pretty villainous, although green is the true villain color of the Marvel Universe. If you see somebody in green, just run the other way. The girl flees from him and runs right into her father, who is threatening her mother, and then the situation escalates because we learn that the mother told her that he was dead. Listen, you better skip town if you tell your kids that their supervillain father or mother is dead, because they are not staying in prison. They have a plot convenience break out of jail free card. Peter saves the day with the help of his new costume. He can resist the fire and he can shoot the new webbing that is also flame resistant. However, the girl is still terrified of him. So Peter sends the suit back to Reed along with a note that says that his rep is bad enough, and the next time he's out in the streets, it'll be in the red and blue as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. A note that I'm sure that Reed kept and stared at and is just extra salty about. Okay, so first let's talk about some of the differences. In the original pitch, the Wasp played a huge part. She was the person who designed Spidey's new costume, because back in the day, the Wasp was a bit of a fashionista. She was known for switching costumes and looking chic. She was a scientist, a superhero, and a fashion plate. Fashion plate makes me think of actual plates and not a person wearing clothes. Aside from that, the pitch is a pretty standard Spidey adventure. It doesn't really feature any prominent villains, and Spider-Man accidentally causes the death of a woman, which causes him maximum angst. Really, the focus is more on him having a new costume and how that impacts how people view him. So with this issue, you get the whole pitch at the back of the book, which is really fun to read. You can feel the fan enthusiasm coming off of it. But not only do you get to read the whole pitch, you get to read the second draft with notes by Tom DeFalco, the then editor. And these notes, oh my goodness, I was having university flashbacks the entire time. Every time there was that Y in red with the big question mark, just oh, I felt it in my core. The tone of the notes is very, very blunt, and I was struggling as an outsider reading it, trying to tell if this is just how all of the notes were written to people at the time, be it writers or just random people submitting pitches, or if there was a bit of that fan-creator friction going on. Kind of a, okay fanboy, we're the professionals, you stay in your lane. We know what we're talking about, you don't. So take several seats. Pros, especially in legacy licensed fields like this, are very aware that there is a thin line between fan and creator. That all it takes is for one pitch to be greenlit and then the fan can turn around and become the person who's making canon. So some creators try to put on airs to maximize that distance and keep fans in their place. Or at the very least make fans feel like they are lesser or silly for thinking that they know anything about the characters or could contribute. Add to that the fact that sometimes fans do get entitled and try and push too hard, and you can sometimes have a pretty volatile mix. This goes doubly for if we're talking about shipping and transformative fandom, which are not taboo subjects here, so strap in. In fact, of all the segments of fandom, sometimes the rest of fandom can be turned against it. This happens a lot in comics, sadly. They try and frame it along a boy-girl divide, but it's much more along a traditional fan and transformative fan divide. So you'll end up with things like Donny Cates liking most of his fans except for shippers. It's interesting to say the least. I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, because I have no idea, but it is what it made me think of when I read these notes. The mind wanders. It goes where it wants. Some of the notes are very helpful and constructive, like how the comic should open on an action shot of Spidey, probably swinging through the city, so that they establish the old costume before they replace it. But some of them, like wrong, New York City crowds don't react this way. This is in response to a line in the pitch where he says that the crowds cheer for Spidey when they see him doing acrobatics in his new suit. Or another one that is just boring, not dramatic. I would cry, and then I would be lit with a fiery rage from within and be like, I'll show you all, and submit about 12 drafts and just go full supervillain. Start my own comic company in response. Just one day as I'm buying the company, be like,
haha, it was me all along. You shouldn't have written that Y with a question mark on my pitch.
I go hard. There are many notes stating that this is all in Spidey's head and wondering what exactly is happening in the art, which is a valid question, as of course comics are a visual medium, but at the same time it should have been understood that this wasn't a traditional pitch from a professional. It was coming from a fan, and potentially someone who wasn't used to sending in pitches in this format and wasn't aware of what exactly was required. So one would feel that maybe there should be a bit more quarter given with these notes. But on the flip side, Marvel is running a business. They don't have time to coddle people and hold the hands of amateurs while they learn, especially not for a one-off. But for a reflip, then maybe one shouldn't offer an opportunity like this to a fan and novice. They had to know it wouldn't be a polished, perfect pitch. So notes like, why? Are they broken? Did you remember to establish how they work? I don't know, maybe I'm a wilting flower and I'm reading this in entirely the wrong tone, but to me some of these notes seem harsh. Or maybe he was just being treated like every other professional and this is the completely candid tone one can expect, in which case this would have been more respectful, so yay? I'm so torn. What do you think? Randy never mentioned minding any of this and was always very grateful for having his idea noticed. And he always kept the letter that Marvel sent him about it. He seems pretty chill. Okay, so this story is fun and cute and still pretty different from Randy's pitch, to be honest, but cool to see. In all fairness though, for Spidey's history's sake, it's probably better that this isn't the story that was went with. How Spidey ended up getting his costume in the comics was a lot more epic and felt more necessary. There is a struggle here in pitch and final form as to why he changes costumes. The shift from red to white is another improvement. And of course later Venom, but that was just as a result of the backlash. Doesn't count. Fun fact, Randy Schueller actually doesn't like Venom very much as a character at all. Now when Randy came out around 2007, the time of Spider-Man 3, to talk about his contributions to Marvel history, he stated that one of the things he would have liked that he lamented a bit was just to get some acknowledgement. Just to show somewhere that the idea had come from him. So this is a really cool way to do that. But he also mentioned that he wouldn't have minded being called a fanboy stud. Yes, this was in jest, but I will say, for putting yourself out there, for giving the world this idea, for letting the world see your fandom on display, you, Randy Schueller, are a fanboy stud. It takes a lot of bravery to put your ideas out there like that, especially when you have the potential to actually get them critiqued like this. This was a ride. Tell me all your thoughts down below. And let me know, have you ever submitted an idea as a fan? Did you get a response? Or do you keep your fandom more to the fan fiction and forum realms? Tell me everything. And please do all of the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. I'm Sasha, thanks so much for watching Casually Comics, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.